Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another video. So this is going to be a Martin build. Now I'm gonna call it a support build because you can see right there on under his name it says his strengths are focused on support and traps. So this is likely the best build you can use for him because you're just playing him to his strengths here. So the first thing the first skill here is going to be the flash thing, the flash platoon. So I like using the middle one there. As you can see, this one increases the reduces the cooldown. The restart time. This endurance one, it makes the paralysis last longer, but you don't really need that extra time. It's already long enough for you to like get the objective and get out, or just we heal someone. It's more than enough. The normal one with the cooldown there, faster cooldown there, and the one at the right there is just kind of blinding the cameras. It's kind of useless. Like, what would you need that? And it takes so long to recharge as well, so not worth it. Now, moving on to the mine here. This is kind of all of them can work. It just depends on what you're trying to focus on. So the shock mine can actually stun multiple zombies, so like 3 or 4 zombies at the same time. Just a range of effect. So for stunning creatures, is actually way better than the other ones. Now the flame one is actually more suited for damage. So if you're actually trying to single kill like creatures, but you can only kill one. So for that killing purpose, the flame one would be better. But keep in mind that the creature has to actually walk into your mine, otherwise it's pretty useless for to work. And you can also really use the flame one to release a few grabs from the by weapons as well when they're grabbing another survivor. I think the shock mine you can still release them when they're grabbing other survivors as well. Now the signal jammer is actually pretty overpowered, but it mostly only works when you're playing against a instant trap build of Alex, or if you're playing against a net ambush. This is pretty overpowered against those builds. So if you hate those builds, this is probably the one you should go with. And you will still be supporting your team by using this mine. So all of them are very heavy support. Um, so yeah, it just depends on what you're trying to counter. Really, I like to use the shock one is really just a second option for when your platoon is recharging. So that's when you would use the shock one to stun the creatures. So it's really just a second option there. But if you feel like you don't need a second option, you can use the other ones for the purpose that I just mentioned. So this one I use this one is pretty useless. Like I mean you can use this for increasing damage, but Martin's been not a killer. He has really low damage, so even with that increase, it's not really any big of a deal. So I'd rather use this more support focused one. So you have the infection here for playing like an Alex or something, and you're expecting heavy infection. You can use this to counter the gas mask. It's gonna heavily counter any type of infection, so you're not coughing and wasting time with your team. Now the one that I usually use is this one where you take less damage from guns because that's really the only counter that he has to any type of gun build. So you might as well take less damage, so you won't go down. You can actually help your team by staying up longer. Healing them if they're the ones that have to go down. And on the right side there, you have the I believe well, I mean, it's really like I mentioned, like it just depends. These last three on the right are the ones that works best. I just use the firearm ones because it's the only counter that he has to guns to an extent. So in this build. So yeah. Now for I like to use the Mind Super here for the last skill because sometimes you can just rush forward and you're the one that's supposed to disarm traps, but sometimes you can be the one blowing them up. So having this one, you're pretty safe to run. You don't have to worry about traps at all. And if you happen to see one, you can just then safely stop and disarm them without actually you blowing them up by being near them. So this one is pretty useless. The EO suit there or something. Um, this one it makes a makeshift mine, it makes one of your own, but I don't think that's very useful because masterminds don't use that many traps to begin with. So there's already very few you're going to be disarming, and remember the creatures still have to step on it. So even though you have your mine there, so what? They might not even step on it, so it's kind of useless that as well in that way. And this is really, I mean, the faster speed is just a couple of seconds, so I don't feel like it really matters. Like it's not game changing to have those few extra seconds, so you might as well use the one where you can safely not worry about traps like ever essentially. So now let's go to the equipment. So you can see I'm pretty much going full mixtape here and power recovery because that's where your support is coming from, mostly his powers. So you want to have that recovery as soon as possible. So here you can just kind of mess around depending on what you're trying to focus on. Again, you can see I'm focusing more. I mean, this is the most balanced one. I would say because I have a greatly decrease, and I also have a moderate decrease for all both the personal and the fever skill. If you're using this, the two mixtapes, and there's the energy drink there as well. And these are the mostly the personal skills are mostly so we can use the mines more often. Cause remember, like I mentioned as well, because the mines can also be a substitute for when you don't have the flashbang, especially when you have the shock one. So, while the flashbang is recharging, you can rely on your traps to stun the creatures, and when your trap is recharging, your Batoon is probably going to be recharged at that point. You know what I mean? So you're kind of just going back and forth between the two, and both of them have fast recovery. So I'm switching here, as you can see. If you want to focus more on the mines instead of the flashbang, you can just use that instead. More of the energy drink instead of the mixtape. And if you feel like you want more mixtapes, you can also take the energy drink off and then just increase the mixtapes even more, because you can definitely put one more mixtape there if you want to. So yeah, that's the equipment and the skills. Now let's go over a game here that I recorded where I'm using this build. It was actually against the Daniel. So this support setup that I have here with the build, it pretty much covers almost all kills. It just doesn't cover Nikolai. The only thing that's going to help you against Nikolai in this build is going to be you can stun Nemesis. So having the fast recovery of the mines as well. Like I mentioned, the mines can stun the bi weapons, especially the flame one. So that's kind of a way you can kind of counter the Masterminds as well. But mostly the flashbang. The flashbang pretty much counters everything, so as bi weapons and creatures. So that's why but like I said, I'm using a very balanced build, so I have both. I have equal like decrease times for both the energy, the personal skill and the fever skill, so I have both. Both are really recharging fast, but you can always, if you want, focus on one side more than the other, one power more than the other. So you can see the flashbang is already like halfway charged there. I don't know if you noticed that. There's like already, you see right there, like already 70%. So maybe it just could be like I don't even need it right now, but it's almost already charged. So it could just mean that maybe I have too much recharge, because it's recharging faster than when I actually need to be using it. So if you notice that, you can just go and switch your build to focus more on the mines, for example. You can see like it's pretty crazy. It's already charged. Like we haven't even got to the objective yet, and I already have my fever skill. If you're using the 4 mixtapes, then it's gonna be a little bit faster than this also. Now the mines, you can see the mines you don't use all that often, so it could argue that you don't really need the energy drinks that much, but especially if you're playing the signal jammer mine, it's really, and you're playing like an ambush net, you're gonna be using that all the time. So that in that sense would actually be good to, because you want to really have it ready, the powers for every objective. So here, for example, now there's not much creatures, but imagine there was a full of zombies here. I could just use my flashbang, kind of like this. And it's pretty much an easy objective, like everyone can just grab the key, leave, and there's nothing the Mastermind can do to stop it. Like even if the door is closed there, you can easily have enough time to go through the door and the locked door, and before the zombies are even like out of the stun animation. So, and you can see like my Batoon is already almost halfway charged again, and even though I just used it. So by the time we get to the exit there, in case we need it again, it's probably already going to be charged. So you can see like it says constant, like the creatures are pretty much rendered useless because of the flashbang. And you can still stack flashbang grenades on top of this, so it's all all compliments. But with this build, you're just a support to your team, more in the way that you're actually very annoying to the killer, to the Mastermind, I mean, because he essentially it's very hard for him to use creatures at all against you, because just because of you as Martin alone, because you're just constantly stunning everything, and because you don't have to actually kill the creatures, you can just stun them, do the objective, and you're still gonna win the game. You're actually kind of wasting time by killing the creatures if no one is doing the objective. So it's actually much more beneficial if you just do the so-called stun and run, or you kind of stun the creatures and just focus on the objective and rushing, moving around fast rather than stopping to kill every creature that you see. And you can see we have like 5 minutes on the clock, so far it's like a pretty easy win. So far, right? We definitely have the advantage with 5 minutes on the survivor side. So you can see again, like my power is already charged before we even need it. But this Mastermind, he's not particularly spamming. So even though it might seem not like that fast of recovery, it might be too much. Might be overdone, but it's actually overkill. But you know,
Make sure
depending
I
on
switch.
the
Pra jogar
mastermind you're
logo.
facing, it can actually be
Isso.
that little
Aí
extra
vou pro Mastermind.
decrease on the charge time may
Ça leur
actually
apprendra à
do
se
all the
moquer de mon
difference.
nom.
You see, right? This is another thing you
Ah,
can
ele
do
tá
as
contando
well
lá
is
com o
spawn the
Pierre.
mine on the doors.
Toma
So
cuidado
as
aí.
soon as you open the mine, you just wait for the zombies to run into it. If you have a full room like this, and
Errou!
it just stun
Tá,
every
deixa eu
zombie
tacar uma
that's
granada
near
aí,
the
ó.
door, and you can
Pera
safely
aí.
enter. Or you can just do what I did, like you
Foi.
just go inside
Sai.
and just stun everyone with your flashbang,
Quase cabe
your flash
pegou
platoon.
o shot lá.
And you
Tá.
see, like my
Isso,
teammates can
boa.
easily
Então tá
go
quando
inside the
tem falhado
room
lá.
safely
Isso.
and not just kill the creatures, but if
Então
they
tem
wanted to just focus on the
invencibilidade
objective,
pro
they
Daniel.
could do that as well.
Tá.
You see what I mean? The mines, you just kind of running around the map
Deixa eu
like
pegar.
pretty much careless because you
Vou
don't
deixar
have
aqui
to
o.
fear traps
Ah,
when
tá,
when you're using that skill that I mentioned on
Tá, tem um
the
perigo.
intro.
Ah, olha o Mr. X. Tá.
And when you happen to see one, you just stop and
Eita, foi.
you know, and discernment. Like right there, I was trying to use the yellow spray before he got to me, but I almost got killed for that. So I definitely made a few mistakes here you're gonna see in this game, but you can imagine how the build is helping and it would help even more without the mistakes. So you see, right, like what I mean, we just about to leave the room and my flash platoon is already charged. So even though I used it once we got inside, by the time we're leaving, it's already charged again. So I kind of fucked up here. What I was trying to do is really get inside the room so I could flashbang him. But he kind of surprised me there because he kind of went to the door when I wasn't expecting it. So he managed to actually down me before I got enough distance there. But my planning there was really to get inside the room and use my flashbang. That would stun him and give me enough time to heal the Val. So you see what I mean? It's all support, focus, and that would have helped the team a lot. Like she would not have died right there if I managed to get my my flash platoon out there. So there you can see like how the build would have influenced a lot the results in this particular scenario. Especially with the recharge. You see, I'm using the balanced speed recharge here, as I mentioned before. And you see right here again, because I have reduced damage on the gun, I did not went down there as well. So this is what I mean. Like you might as well have something to counter guns, which would be the reduced damage. But you can see like right there, if I had taken more damage and I was not using the reduced damage skill, I would definitely have gone down there. So you see again, I can use my flashbang because it recharges so fast. If you're not using the last energy drink and you're actually using 4 full mixtapes, you know it's gonna be a little bit faster than this the recharge, so you can use it even more often with the flashbang there. But you can see like it's already like pretty fast just the way this is set up, and it's still balanced to where the trap mine is still very fast as well on the recharge. I'm not using it too much here because you know my flashbang is recharging so much that you know, usually I just rely on the flash platoon as a primary, and I'm not really having to use the what's it called the mine so much. However, you know, if like I mentioned, this particular mastermind is not spamming too much, but if he was, like you can see, like right now, if I had to use my flashbang on this room, I could just use the mine instead, and it would be ready. And that way, you always kind of have some kind of a stun option ready, you know, for when you need it. The traps recharge in like 45 seconds, I believe, the default time. So with the build that I'm using, those 45 are probably down to 30 or something, if not less. Because I'm using a greatly reduced plus a moderately reduced one for the personal skill, so that's quite a lot. So you see what I mean again? Just run carefree, and when you see a mine, you know, you just stop in discernment, but you never have to worry about actually exploding one. This is also very good because it counters a strategy that I'm pretty much the only mastermind that I've ever seen use it, but they can actually place mines on the other side of doors, the locked doors, and control a zombie. So they keep like closing the door when you're trying to get in with the zombie that they're controlling. And that forces you to have to rush in to be able to, you know, counter that open and close door game. And by rushing in, if he has traps around the door, you essentially gonna end up rushing into the traps, and he's gonna blow up everything. So depending on how many traps he has there, you may actually go down from doing that. So that was the strategy I would do, but if you have the only way you can really counter that strategy is if you actually have a Martin with the setup that I just showed you guys here, which you do not have to worry about mines, because that way you can just, you know, rush the door, and the mines would essentially not go off, and you would get past the zombie and past the traps, you know, and then you can just like blow the mines yourself, or you know, in any way you're gonna force the zombie to go out to chase you, and then it stops the door game completely. and your teammates can
Tá,
always
tudo
also take care of the mine if you already don't happen to do it yourself by just shooting at them
Ixi,
after you
que
go past
merda.
the zombie, if you
Eu
know
acho
what
que
I
não
mean.
não vou conseguir chegar a tempo.
So
Oh,
here again,
merda.
I'm buying the hide end just so I
Tá,
don't
vou
have to worry
matar
about
pra
ammo
isso.
here.
Desarma aí
So
os
you see, I'm going to
tá.
disarm this mine.
Tá, deixa eu ver se
And
eu
see,
consigo
if you have a
dar
flame,
downside
if I have a
pra-
flame mine right here, for example, I could
Mr.
also
X.
kill that. I would have killed that ivy right there. If you have the
Que
flame
merda.
mine, you can also kill ivies
Ai.
pretty much for free. So that's another advantage. But you know, all of the three mines have like major advantages. It's just, you know, kind of what you're trying to specialize on, you know. There's really no best one. All threes are like super good. It just depends on the situation, you know.
Acho melhor o
So
Scott
right there you
fugir
see how
lá
that's
pra
how you can
P1,
kind of
porque
dodge his
X tá
rush.
indo atrás dele.
Because he cannot turn too much, so by going to that corner, you see how I was able to like dodge him, at least the first time around. So that's how you dodge the Mr. X charge. Now, my Batoon is not ready yet, so I cannot stun him. But what I could have done there, I'm not sure I tried to, but I could have placed my mine on the floor as he was rushing towards me. And just stay behind the mine, you know, on the floor, and he would have to go around it and essentially not hit me. Because otherwise, if you go straight towards me, he's gonna end up stepping on the mine, and the mine is gonna stun him out of the rush, the bull rush, the charge. So, you know, that's a way you could use the mine to counter the strikes as well. I'm not entirely sure, but I believe the shock mines do actually work. But I know for sure the flame mines would definitely take care of the stun that I just mentioned. So you see again my flash platoon saving everyone there, saving the valve. You see again, you see how I just walked past the mine right there. If I didn't have that ability, that mine would have, that trap would have gone off right there. I just walked right past it. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there was a trap on the stairs there. It just didn't go off because of my skill. This is kind of, you know, I shouldn't be focusing on destroying the core because, you know, you're the support guy, so, you know, damage is really not your suit here as Martin, but, you know, because of, you know, this match is pretty under control, and I'm not really sweating too much, so I'm kind of making these little mistakes here and there. And you can notice my mine as well, how it's charging. So by the time we get to the next core, it's already going to be recharged, and that's because of the energy drinks and everything that I'm using. So you know what I mean. Like essentially every room that you go in, you have 1-2 that you can use to stop the Mastermind from, you know, spawning creatures and whatnot, doing things against you and your team. You see again there are mines. I can just run past them or just then stop to destroy them when you see them. So again, he's using guns. I have a counter to that, which is my reduced damage. So he's not, you know, gonna make me waste a lot of green herbs, as well as not gonna down me because of the reduced damage. No, but like I mean, like this Mastermind, he wasn't like super particularly good, and he wasn't spamming too much. But you can imagine if he was using more creatures, you can see how I would easily have the tools to deal with, and how immensely that would help my team on doing the objective. So we're going to the third core here, and again everything is ready here, so I can use both. Because both are charging pretty fast, I can use both at any time here. I can use the flash platoon if I happen to need any type of other stun in the same room here. I can just use my my mine there instead. You see right there, that was another kind of mistake. I was trying to stun here, as you can see there, but he actually punched me before the animation finished. But you can see right there, that's a perfect example again of how the fast recharge made a big difference here. On having my power ready when I need it. Now here, I'm not trying to stun him immediately because I don't know if you noticed, but they used the flashbang on him earlier, very soon, very recent. So he cannot be stunned like twice in a row like that. So he's not gonna get the full stun animation. So that's why I'm waiting a little longer before using my flashbang on him. And if he keeps on like this, he can actually die. So see, like right now, I can't already use it again. You see? And now he gets the full stun animation. And the Val also happened to, you know, heal, especially when you have a Val and a Martin like this. You know, because Val counters any type of like going down, you know. If Val can counter because she heals everyone. She can also counter infection with the spray, and Martin is essentially like the big counter to creatures. Any type of creature build, he's gonna. Creatures are already pretty bad, but with Martin it's like even worse. because you can just every
Peguei
time be
aqui,
stunning
tá.
everyone. So you see what I mean? Like this is a good
Mais uma,
example.
mais
So I
uma
can place the
missão, tá?
mine. You see that my Batoon is not ready, so I can rely on the mine.
Merda,
And you see
o
how
Luca
the
tem uma
mine
armadilha de
stunned everyone there.
teleporte.
And you see they last for quite some time there. It was like 5 seconds stun, 6 seconds stun with the mine there.
O Scorpion tá
And notice
seguindo.
how my mine is
Isso,
already halfway
merda.
charged again.
Solta o Scorpion,
So
pelo amor de Deus.
it's charging pretty much as faster than
Vai,
my
fraca,
my
esperta,
flash
vai,
platoon
tá
is.
ficando mal.
So
Ah, me agarrou de
before that
novo.
door is even open, I have my mine ready to be used again if I need to.
Obrigado.
You see like right there, if I had to stun them, I can just use my mine again right there. So that's the power of the recharge. As you can see right there, how you know, it makes a lot of difference, especially when playing against creatures. Guys, that's the build. That's the support Martin build. I hope you guys can see how useful it is and how much of a difference it makes on the games, or
Assim,
how much of a difference
com
it
toda
can
essa
make. Just
gritaria que a
keep
gente tá
aware that,
fazendo,
like I mentioned, there's different options you can switch around. It really just depends on
tá
what
que
you're
nem
trying to
que nem
focus
uma
on.
SWAT aqui.
But I would say the best like overall build would definitely be this, like to counter creatures, and especially because you can just stun them every time with the mines plus the flashbang. I guess that's the video. Take care. See you guys in the next one.